Thinking of investing, working, or starting a business in the cannabis industry? We've got you covered right here on Plant Problems. Hosted by Tony Frischkneckt, Plant Problems takes a different approach to cannabis than what you're seeing and hearing from the mainstream media. Come along with Tony and be in the know about how to invest, work, or start a cannabis business. Let's get the show started with your host, Tony Frischkneckt.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Plant Problems. Thanks for joining me today. I wanted to revisit one of my previous podcasts, What Cannabis Business Fits You. I believe it was number 9, and I want to go into a little bit more depth on what's actually happening currently in the industry. And my topic today is going to be investing in hemp CBD and trying to create your niche in the supply chain. There are a lot of great things happening with hemp right now. It's not talked about as much. I want to share some stuff with you today where I see the market heading. You know, there's a lot of people out there that are trying to figure out what's the best strategy and what they want to take on. Today, I'm going to share with you my thoughts and where I see the market going. And these are coming from what is actually happening right now in the industry with gentlemen that I've been working with and talking to, along with a lot of my knowledge past that's happened in THC and the legalization here in Colorado. What's hot right now? Well, hemp as a whole is on fire right now. And I'm still not seeing a lot of discussion of the mainstream. Everybody's talking about what's normal, when's legalization going to happen in my state, when am I going to be able to buy recreationally? And that's all great stuff. And that's going to be the sexy stuff that you see. That's what grabs headlines. So a majority of your news outlets are going to be carrying something like this or talking about this, especially given the new election that's coming up here. We just had the primaries the other day. And I want to share with you the 3 topics. And I believe it was episode 9, if you want to go back and review that. This is a little more in depth in what is really happening right now, what I see on the ground level. Growing side. Growing seems to be, an easy place to get into this, into growing hemp, right? So growing hemp, growing anything has a lot of work that's involved. I mean, you're a farmer, and there are a lot of variables you're dealing with. The biggest one is the atmosphere and the environment. Those are huge. What I see happening in growing right now is that there are a lot of farmers that have hopped on board. This is a great place, and it's an exciting place to be. However, there are so many things that you can't control as a farmer that can affect your harvest. If you're going to be growing something, one of the most challenging things I think is, how do I choose what type of hemp strain I want to grow? That is that way in THC as well, deciding which one. Also finding a stable strain that you can grow is very key. There is a very small amount of stable genetics that are available out there right now. Most people are buying clones, or they found seeds from a European connection, and they grow differently in every climate. There's a company out of Colorado right now called New West Genetics. They are actually one of the few I know that's certifying seeds with the state, and they started growing their strains back right when the Farm Bill passed, the original Farm Bill in 2014. They hit the ground running. So they're creating stable genetics. I am not aware of a lot of other people doing this. I'm sure you can search it. I've had some personal contact with them, and so I've kind of understood what their platform looks like and how they're building their business. So I see that why they're doing what they're doing. With that said, all the farmers that have jumped on board, we can grow it. There is a lot of competition out there. The competition has come, of course, from the passing of the bill, but also it has come from the hype of the value of that this product was last spring. People were selling out. There wasn't enough supply. Well, in about a year, that's changed. I know a lot of farmers that are still holding on to their crop from last year, trying to find the right deal. Makes sense for them. So you've got that in place. I also know farmers that have been talking with the processors, and there's a few of them that are not really up and running yet to full capacity, or as large as they have to be able to process this crop. The other side is, as I talked about in my past podcast, was white labeling. Great spot to start. It's very simple to talk to these processors. If you've got a brand you want to create, they can create the product for you. Of course, it'll cost you a bit more than if you were doing it yourself, but it doesn't come at the expense of processing and all the tools and the machines that you need to create a product. I like the white label mostly due to the fact that you can run a small business on your own. If you just want to dabble in it, it's very easy to get going on your own. All these products are being watched by the FDA, but it's not really, there's not clear-cut information and guidelines that you have to follow now. There's a little bit coming out, okay? For example, you can't claim any kind of medical ailments that this will solve, like headaches, and basically they have to sell it more as much as like a supplement that you see in like a GNC or a Walgreens at this point. Out of those three, right now, I think the hot thing to get into and the hot thing to be a part of is the processing. Processing is really left up to the machinery and the facility you can get in place. One of the drawbacks is it can be expensive, but I'll work through that and talk to you about that. As a processor, you have plenty of product to choose from. There are farmers with bags and bags and bags, thousands and thousands of pounds of this product right now, the hemp that's been harvested from last year. And from what I'm seeing, they have very few places to process it. So there's a demand for that. That demand can be great for you. Take you back to a little story. So if you guys aren't familiar, I started a company back in 2012 with a lab called Open Vape. We were me and my business partners, a very new dispensary here in Denver, Colorado, and we were selling a local vendor's vaporizer, or vape pen. There was only a couple guys that were selling these at the time. It was very, very new. So one of my business partners, he was kind of the visionary. He saw a need for it and kind of shared the story with us. What was happening is we were selling, after we started getting these vape cartridges in, I think within 2 months, we were selling 1,000 a week, and we were paying the creator of this product $35,000, $40,000 a month. And we're like, oh my gosh, this is huge. What's going on? So my business partner was like, we need to figure out how to make these, right? So we were missing a huge opportunity, and we saw the writing on the wall. These convenient little electronic joints were going to blow up. How can we make them? We thought, so we tried hiring some old school guys that have been in industry for a long time. We thought they knew we could put this together with them. That's what we thought at the time when we were doing what they call a bubble hash, like a washing machine type hash system. We're like, oh, we can figure this out. And we spent a couple months messing around with that, wasted some time, a little bit of money, and we ended up parting ways from these couple guys. And we kind of had to start from scratch. Well, how do we do this? Because it's really expensive. That's the point of my story, is coming back to this. The reason why I'm sharing this is because it's really expensive to do a lot of this processing. But we had to figure out a way how to work this out without any money. Every small business's nightmare, right? We got an idea, we just don't have the money to get it off the ground. One of our other business partners, and there was 4 of us, one of our other business partners was talking to his old college buddy, and he owned a dispensary and a lab. And they were selling their lab, so we're like, well, it's worth checking this lab out because we don't know. We don't have any money, but hey, let's go check this place out. So we end up driving over there, not too far from our facility, maybe 20 minutes. We start walking. They let us in the front door, a little security system, and nothing like it is nowadays. Nowadays, it's like Fort Knox walking into a lot of these facilities. And we started a tour with these guys. There were two gentlemen, and they were walking us through the facility. We saw a lot of what looked like to me at the time was just a lot of different lab equipment. I had no idea what was involved. And things like big, giant, shiny extraction machine and big round ball rolling, which now after several years, I'm seeing called a roto vape and saw scales and, plant material all over the place. And there were maybe a handful of people working in this lab. This lab was probably 1,500 square feet. So they're walking us through each stage of the process, and we're like, wow, this looks expensive. This looks expensive. What do I do here? What do I do here? Well, let's just go on the tour. We're looking at our business partners like, wow, this is pretty amazing. We probably spent half hour, 45 minutes talking to them about their situation and what they were looking at trying to do. And we get to the end and they kind of looked at us like, well, we're asking $1 million. And I looked over at one of my partners and I said, wow. I just kind of mouthed him like, wow, what are we even doing here, right? Because again, when you don't have any money, you're just blown away by anything that costs over $10,000. You're like, man, where do they get that? Well, I was sitting there, probably was 10 seconds, it felt like, maybe longer. I just looked at them and I said, well, guys, we don't have any money. And the visionary, our business partner, the kind of visionary, well, we got a great idea. At that point, we kind of started to share our idea of these vaporizing pens. And they actually had created a couple products that were vaporizers, and they never really took off. It seemed like we were on the same page how to work something like this out. We started talking back and forth for the next couple days, and it seemed like maybe a week or two had went by. And all of a sudden, we were partners creating something with these two other guys that had the equipment, and we had some great ideas to back this up. I want to share that with you because we didn't know what we had at the time. But years later, as our process built, we were selling millions of dollars a month of these vaporizers across the state of Colorado and in other states just after a couple of years. Had we gone into the mindset like, well, we can't afford to do this, what are we even doing here? All of us could have missed that huge opportunity. And I don't want you to avoid looking at opportunities just because you don't have the money. The mind is an amazing thing. It will solve problems for you like you wouldn't believe. That is, if you stretch your mind far enough, just to dream a little bit and a little bit bigger, you'll be amazed how you can solve those problems. And, there was a group of us, so we were able to put our heads together to try to put this together, to try to make this successful. But it doesn't take 5, 10, 15 people. It could take 2 of you. I have a lot of experience with partnerships, and you can do some amazing stuff with partners. You just have to be careful who you're partnering with. This was one of the turning points in my life, creating this company with this group of guys. At the time, I didn't know it. At the time, I was unsure. We plowed forward, and within just a few months, we were blowing through our product and creating an amazing business. And we were able to partner up with some guys that had the right tools to get us going. Sometimes that's all it takes. You definitely want to look for like-minded people that are interested in the vision. Money doesn't always get you there. Money is the byproduct, but it doesn't always get you there. Fast forward to now, this time, where we are at right now. I still believe the processing of this plant is a very big market. Once you have the raw material, you can sell that raw material. And yes, other people are going to be creating a lot of raw material, but the capital that it takes to put this together is quite overwhelming unless you create a partnership. So if you don't have any money, I'm telling you, it doesn't matter. You can find ways to get this done. I work on stuff now that's not requiring me to input money into it. A lot of information, yes, but does not require me to hand over a check to these people to make something happen. And that's been a great lesson in my life. Money does help. Makes things easier, of course, but I know it can be done without it. Okay, so back to the investing. If you don't want to build a processing, I completely understand. You don't have to, but you do have to find some people that are working on it. And if you have capital that you can inject into some of these companies, that's another great way to do it. Those investors out there right now that are listening, but everybody that's extracting doesn't have great ideas. They may have figured out how to get the tools together to do it, but that doesn't mean that you don't do your due diligence and find out where their vision is and their business plan is. These are all very key, especially to you new investors out there that are thinking of investing in their families, their cousins or son or daughter or any of that. family is tricky, but it's usually a great starting point if you're trying to create something. That's where I started. And I can share that story some other point, but you can start with a couple grand. You can start anything with a couple grand. Again, it's amazing what your mind will do to put stuff together to make a vision and a dream complete. I hope I've been able to give you something to think about. If you're thinking about that, please reach out to me and leave comments or questions on my blog page at plantproblem.com. I would be happy to dig in deeper to each one of these if there's some interest in that. I'm really here for you. I want to be a resource. And I know I've mentioned this in the past, but I practice what I preach. There is a lot going on, and I am an active investor. A lot of mine is not hands-on anymore, but I do a little bit. And I know people that are in the day-to-day. So please feel free to reach out to me. Let me know what you're looking for. I'd love to solve your problem. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. It's been fun for me, and I look forward to speaking again real soon. Bye for now.
You've just listened to another insightful episode of Plant Problems. If you like what you heard so far, don't forget to tell your friends and colleagues. For additional resources or to leave a review, head over to plantproblem.com. Join us again next week on Plant Problems with Tony Frischknecht. We look forward to having conversations with you as we go along this journey.